Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and I'm not alone. I'm joined by the venerable, the wonderful, the ever-present Felix.
It's me, but in paper. You know what I'm talking about if you've seen that preview trailer.
I haven't, unfortunately. I think that came out of the wrong time for me from a work point of view. Anyway, I'm going to learn all about it now because we are going to be finding out just why is Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door? Why is it so flipping good, Felix? Because you've played it, I haven't. So I'm going to, I've read the review. It's not enough. I need more information, and I think the lovely people want that information as well. So I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to say, Felix, I am currently playing, and I believe near the end of Super Mario RPG for the Nintendo Switch. Why on earth should I bother picking up a brand new RPG starring the mustachioed man when I'm just about to complete one? What's the difference? I mean, obviously, I know there's a difference, but
yeah. No, great
humor
question.
me. What's the difference?
So I played Mario RPG when it came out, and really, really enjoyed it. It was a good RPG with loads of wacky characters, but Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, in my book, is the better game. The writing is better, the combat is loads better. I mean, don't get me wrong, the combat is all right in Mario RPG, but they've taken it to a whole other level here in Thousand Year Door.
It is quite simple in Mario RPG, isn't it? It's quite simple.
Yeah, it's standard RPG stuff. I really like the wacky humor of RPG, and it's a bit different in this one. Like, Mario doesn't talk. Well, he does say, "Waha!" It doesn't even say that in Mario RPG. But I feel the story is also a bit better. I mean, to be fair, you have to go around finding stars in both, so they are a bit similar in there, but I really like the structure of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. So you go to a new village, and then you meet new characters, you get new partners, and that just makes the combat more interesting. And these partners also have like abilities in the overworld, and there's loads of collectibles to find. You have the shrine sprites, you have the star pieces, which unlock things like the music player. You have to find all the shine sprites in each chapter to unlock the music player for that chapter. And the same thing with the art gallery, which I just think is really cool, because when the incentivizer to find stuff is just to find it, I'm not that intrigued. But when it's actually, you unlock this once you do it, that's much more my cup of tea. And I don't know, I was just so engaged with Thousand Year Door, and they might be RPGs, but they are very different, I feel. Very different vibe, very different tone and everything.
Well, it's a lot flatter, isn't it?
Well, in some aspects, yeah. And one of the cool things they've done in this remake is that there's unique music for each battle. Like, no, not each battle. Each battle in like each chapter.
Every single battle is a brand new track.
So each chapter has a unique spin on the music. If you've played the Origami King, it's just like that. So it's like a remixed version depending on which area you are in the game, which I just find incredibly cool. So I don't know, have you played the Origami King?
I have, but it was a long time ago, and I don't specifically remember that. But I have played things like Banjo-Kazooie, which does the same thing. You go to a different area of a level, and suddenly, the music changes from normal to pirate or something like that. If it's Treasure Trove Cove, And I have always felt that is, I don't want to say missing in modern games, because at the end of the day, it's just a nice feature. It's never required, but oh god, does it make a difference. It's just this wonderful little extra layer of maybe not even necessarily immersion, but it makes things feel more alive within the world. It makes things feel richer.
Definitely. And I think to really cap off your question about Mario RPG and the Thousand Year Door, Mario RPG was a very good game. Thousand Year Door, one of the best games I've ever played. I mean, to me, it's that good. It's really just from start to finish, absolutely magnificent, with so many nice characters, memorable like storylines, and it's always changing things up. One moment you're running around in a big tree helping these small creatures. The next moment you are a part of a wrestling organization where you have to climb up the ranks. It's always like throwing new stuff at you to make it interesting, which I just really have to applaud. And it all culminates into a really satisfying conclusion to the story, which I feel a lot of games, they build up to this thing. My best example, I mean, you haven't played that, but Sea of Stars, I thought was so good the entire way through, and then it kind of fumbled the ending, which just, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, where this was just like, I'm very satisfied right now.
Endings, I think, are one of the hardest things to get right in any story, to be honest. Not just games. To be honest, I think with games, it's maybe a little bit harder because invariably, unless it's a short game, like a film, it's like it's an hour and a half, it's 2 hours, you wrap it up in that time. The investment from the individual isn't as great, whereas a game, not only is it generally a lot longer, but you yourself have also you forced the narrative forward. It wouldn't progress if it weren't for your input. So I do think it's really hard to get right. So it's nice to know that there's a good ending, but don't tell me anything about it. Not that I know anything about the plot, admittedly, but even so, I don't want any spoilers. So what about and this, I do fully appreciate that you didn't play the original, nor did I. What in the way of new stuff is there for people who are just, coming back, who've played the original, they had it on the GameCube and they were like, wow, now it's worth £1 million. I don't want to play it in case I scratch the disc. Why should they pick up Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door on Switch, except just to avoid scratching the disc?
So, unfortunately, there isn't a lot of new content in the remake besides, new
God
visuals.
Damn it! 3 out of 10.
So there is there's 2 new bosses or something like that, but it isn't like Mario RPG where it actually makes it. There's harder sections after. I haven't done those, so I don't quite know whether. I just know that there was more stuff to Mario RPG, where this one is more just we have new visuals, we have new music, everything has been remade. There's even new localization stuff. But in terms of new content, there isn't much, unfortunately. But I also think the main point of this game is just to get it out to a wider audience. The Switch has such a big install base. And look, I've played it finally. I hadn't played it before because it was stuck on the GameCube, but now it's one of my favorite games I've ever played. So that just also shows that I think the audience, there's a lot of people who want to play it but just haven't been able to, and now they finally can.
Okay, I think that's fair enough. I mean, to be honest, you said that there were a couple of new bosses.
It is major. It is major.
I wasn't even expecting that, to be honest. I mean, I love little bits of bonus content, and at the same time, I don't want to have a load of new content thrown in, arguably for the sake of it.
That's the thing. The game is so complete. It doesn't need. I can't say that. I haven't played the original, but when I was playing it, when I was done, it was this game doesn't need anymore. It was the perfect experience, the perfect length. It took around. Well, I have spent 42 hours in it, but I've also tried to find a lot of the collectibles. I found all the shine sprites and all that. So, but there's a good chunk of game here which just consistently keeps one-upping itself, which is really impressive.
Yeah, that's really good because as, I know this isn't a universally held opinion, but the bonus content that was in Xenoblade Chronicles, the Switch version, it didn't do it for me. No. I didn't really find that much value in there. I don't know what the wider opinion is overall, but for me, it felt, I don't want to say phoned in because that seems unfair, but it didn't feel like it had the same level of care and attention put into it that the base game did. And so whilst, new content is never necessarily bad, certainly when it's bonus content, usually at the end or just, sort of adjacent, rather than necessarily being injected into the middle of a game where it could, in theory, slow things down. At the end of the day, it's a fantastic game from every angle, from everyone that I've ever heard who's played it. And I still regret not accepting the offer of the game from a friend of mine. I think I've mentioned this before. He moved to the States, took everything with him, but obviously he, grew up, so he had a PAL version, and he wasn't playing it, and he was like, do you want it? And I was like, I wouldn't trust it in, customs and stuff like that. I wouldn't want it to get damaged. And I think now it's stuck over there somewhere because he's moved back now. So it's somewhere. We're not quite sure where it is. So massive regret on that front. But now I can pick this version up.
Yeah, if you enjoy Mario RPG, you most definitely will enjoy it. I mean, I've said that they are different games, but if you just enjoy a good Mario RPG, this is the best it gets. And let me just re-emphasize, the battling is so good. I had only played the Origami King before, which I didn't have much issue with the battle. I thought it was all right, but I also didn't have anything to contrast it to. I didn't like
Yeah.
when people said, "Oh, I want levels and stuff," and yeah, that's all right. I want partners, but now I've had it and I can never go back because there's so many mechanics to the battle, and it takes place on this stage, and there's so much like you have to influence the audience. There's so many different items, and then you have the different partners and so much different enemies. I mean, they do start like making different variations of the enemies. So you have a cloud, and then you have a thunder cloud, which is like a dark cloud. And then you have a winter cloud. So, but no, it's really impressive just how much content there is. And a complaint there is with newer Paper Mario games is that there isn't as many like unique character designs, and there is so many.
Oh
in
yeah,
this one.
it's all Toads. It's all Toads.
Where here, it's like there is Toads, there's Koopas, but there's so much more. There's so much more. They make like unique versions. Like you have Koops, which is like he has a hoodie on with and like a little, I don't know what it's called on his nose, plaster. I don't know what it's called in English.
Oh yeah, a little plaster, yeah, or
Okay.
a band-aid as Americans would call it, named after Bob Geldof. That's not true.
Okay.
I would like to know a little bit more about the appeal system, like with the audience and stuff like that, because I don't fully get it. Admittedly, I slightly skimmed that area when reading the review.
Okay, so after each chapter, you find a star, much like you do in Mario RPG, and then you'll get a special star ability. And these star abilities you need to fill up this meter, and the way you do that is appealing to the audience. Now, you can use the appeal command, like instead of attacking, you can appeal and get loads of it. But instead, if you time your attacks properly, you'll get more appeal. You can do like between like one while you're doing the jump. So in the air, you press A at the exact right time. You'll do a little trick, and that'll like wow the audiences, and they'll jump all up, and you'll get more star appeal. And the further you progress, you'll need more and more star appeal. So you'll have to do more and more tricks, and it's really cool because some attacks you can do like multiple tricks throughout. So you might do a hammer attack, and then you'll do a backflip, and if you time it again, you'll do another one, and then a third one, and you'll like spin up all in the air. So that's basically it. You do that to get special abilities, and these range from like loads of damage to the enemies, or just healing up properly, or buffs, like attack buffs and defense buffs.
Okay, so it in a way, it's kind of like a reward for playing better, more playing in a more complicated manner.
You do still get like star, you just get more of it. You get it quicker if you do these things correctly.
Yeah. I do find that this is, a side note to Paper Mario specifically, but I do find it interesting how often the better you are at a game, the easier the game makes things for you. Do you know what I mean? It's I found this secret item, which means now I do more damage because I spent the time and, I was good and I did a difficult challenge. So now the rest of the game is easier. Just a very minor side note, but I've often found that amusing.
If you are finding the game too easy, though, we have to talk about the badge system. So if you've played Hollow Knight, I also mentioned this in the review at the end, but when I was playing Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, it was like, wait a second, the badges, I know this from somewhere. Because it's the exact same system they have in Hollow Knight with the what is it called? It's not
Charms.
badges. Charms, yeah. So you have a specific amount of like badge points you can use on these charms, and the better well, it's not charms, now I'm messing it all up. These badges use specific battle points, so you might have like a really cool one. It's like you get double damage, which is like, okay, that makes the game much harder, but you might want that. That, though, takes 0 battle points because you just make the game harder. But there are some, like, you can get more flower power, which is the magic, or you can get more health, or you can make it so that, okay, I don't want to get, like, too spoiler, because some of the most enjoyable things of the game is, like, finding these really cool badges that really change up how you approach these battles, and that's really cool.
Okay,
Yeah. So when you level up, you can level up 3 things. You can level up your flower power, you can level up your heart points, or you can level up your badge like points. You can get more badges, thus equip more badges at a time. And there's loads of these to collect, which you can really customize Mario, and it's really cool to see how you progressively get a more powerful Mario, and you can do more tricks, and battling just becomes more and more engaging.
So what about the enemies? You mentioned that there were a load of different enemy types and things like that alongside the companions. Mm-hmm. Obviously, let's, as usual, let's steer clear of spoilers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is there any boss that particularly stood out to you? You know, in terms of like its design or the way that you had to fight it?
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
there anything that
They
like
have-
really popped?
They have a lot of great boss designs. I mean, now I don't want to get into specifics, but they do a good job of like having a unique mechanic for that boss. So, you know, maybe you need to do certain stuff before you can attack it and stuff like that. And the boss designs are very unique in itself, and they again do a really good job of changing it up each chapter to make it fun and engaging. If you have double damage, which I did have some of the time, they can be very, very tough. But otherwise, I didn't find myself being too stuck on the game. And now you can just like retry the boss instead of like, you can even skip the cutscenes, which I think you couldn't do in the previous one, which some bosses do have long cutscenes beforehand.
I read that in the review, and that I feel...
That's really nice.
Is not so much like a nice feature, but it feels like fixing an oversight from the original. It really annoys me when games are just like, no, you got to do the whole thing again. And it's like, you know, watching the cutscene isn't part of the challenge. Just let me try again.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, if I'm brutally honest, that's basically all of my questions answered. I can't lie. I went into this already knowing that I wanted to get the game, so this isn't really, you know, this hasn't changed my mind. It's just reinforced my original ideals.
Yeah.
But is there anything that I haven't asked, anything else that you want to like reveal about the game that isn't a spoiler?
I think it's just to answer the title of this video, is Paper Mario really that good? Yes. It's so many times I can be very skeptical when people say like, oh, this is so good. Especially like with Mario RPG, people went on and on about Gino and like, he's all right, but he's not like the best thing I've ever seen in my life. You know what I mean? So I was a bit like, is it just nostalgia talking? Is it really that good? And no, it holds up tremendously today. And I just think everyone should play this game because it's so fun and it's so good. And I'm so glad that it's on Switch. And Alex, I can't wait for you to play it so we can talk all about it. It's going to be great.
Between this and Animal Well, I've got my work cut out for me, haven't I? But there you have it. Thank you, Felix, for detailing all of that. And thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you you do something, Felix? I don't know anything about the game.
Well, throw Coops at that subscribe button so it hits, and then he'll return to you. And you can both keep watching Intel Live content for the foreseeable future. It's going to be great.
Yeah, do that 3 times, unless you're already subscribed. In which case, do it 4 times, and then everything will be good.
That seems like subscribing with extra steps.
Yeah, I like extra steps. It keeps YouTube on its toes. Bye.